we're both full time. That's also something that's not. A lot of people are full time. A lot of people are still headliners but working. We're both the only one of the maybe like handful of people who are full time in Chicago at least. But would you say the trade off of being full time, because you and I do a lot of corporate gigs, a lot of private gigs.
A lot of stuff we shouldn't be doing.
Well, I was going to say,
a lot of places where there should not be comedy.
Like, what is the gig that you're like, I will not do that now? Or what's the worst one you've done, and what's the one you will?
Worst one. I couldn't even tell you the worst one because every time I do one that's the worst one,
something
there's a new lower level of hell, and they're like different. They're bad for different reasons. But now I've gotten so much better at just like being like, this isn't my fault that this is bad.
Yeah.
This is
because for so long you think it's you.
Yeah, this is not the environment for this. I'm here for the money. I'm going to stand here in the background, basically, yell at these people. And
you're like the slideshow, but you're there.
100%.
They're like, you're playing.
Get my money and get out.
But what is our? I mean, now at this point, 10 years.
Oh yeah,
in,
what would I say no to?
What would you say no to? Because that's the thing that I'm trying. 2025. Two of the resolutions. My first resolution, which I always break, is to quit comedy. I never make it. I never do it.
Please.
But the second one is to say no to more things.
Sure. Yeah. I was going to try saying no to more stuff, and then I agreed to do this podcast.
I knew it. I fucking knew it. We'll bleep that out.
Yeah. How much is the pay for this? There are certain things I've started blanket saying no to. Anything for kids is out.
Yeah, I'm out. We did a couple of those.
We've done a couple. Looking back, and I've been working on like archiving a lot of stories from like that period of my career, and I'm like, there was a time I'm like, why was I just saying yes to everything? But like
that's what you are trained to do.
Well, and you weren't getting up as much as we were now, so it's kind of like if someone gives me the opportunity to stand up and get paid for it,
you're not like taking another gig away,
right? Of course, I'm saying
you're only additive,
and I can do stand up and get paid for it. And there is some of that now I'm like grateful for that. I'm like, I feel like I have a certain ability because I've done all those bad things. I'm like, you can't scare me. You put me in front of a real audience in a dark room with lights and sound equipment. You can't scare me.
Also, nothing matters. You're like, no host. That's fine.
Yeah. Right.
Right. I did stand up while people were getting food from a buffet.
Yeah.
I was like, it's fine.
Yes.
There's nothing can hurt me. I fear though, like and that's why I'm trying to say no to more stuff, because I'm like, if I kept doing that, you then just are lost.
There's a point of no return.
Yeah, there's a point of like nothing matters.
Yes.
And you still need to know how to...
There's a point where it's not, you're not a comedian anymore.
Yeah. So we've done one, a couple that we've done.
The one that sticks out is, again, if you asked me to do this today, I would say, not only am I not going to do that, don't ask any other comedian to do that. That's just
for
that's
the art form.
Yeah. When we did the Troubled Kids School, you remember that?
Oh my God, that was.
How could you forget?
What was that? I try to have a bit about
that.
You
did because it was a live-in school for troubled boys, and there's two constituencies in this that lived there. One were victims of sexual assault, the other ones were perpetrators of sexual assault. And you had a joke where you're like, it sounds like you're setting some of them up for success.
I'm like, shouldn't those groups be separate?
Shouldn't they be separate? Because I remember we both did stand up and then we did improv.
Oh
my
God.
And at one point in the improv scene, I think we hugged and they go, side hugs only, because they weren't supposed to touch each other.
And it was weird because I'm like, any of these kids could beat us up. They were
100%. They were not safe. But they're all like 10, 11, 12 years old.
Yeah.
And half of them are pedos. And we were not safe whatsoever. And we drove, it was like 3 hours away. And they probably gave us, at the time, we're each getting $200. Oh, incredible.
I was like, this is my month.
Yes.
I just made my whole. Yes. Also, I just thought about this now. Pedo, I didn't know you could have a child pedo. It's usually they go
pedo
for children.
On pedo.
Pedo on pedo. It's a pedo squared.
Which I guess is what you're supposed to like kids your age.
Yeah, it's not weird if you're both underage.
Well,
consensually.
The consent is the important thing. You know what the crazy thing is now? Those kids are like out in the world. They're like have jobs now.
They probably are.
Imagine you see someone at a show and they come up afterwards and they're like, I was at this school for a few years. I lived at this school where I saw you.
Was it juvie? Kind of like that.
Yeah. But there's a lot of people like now, like if someone came out, you'd be like, do you remember you did this thing for my company 9 years ago? I'd be like, please never tell anybody.
Like, remember you did bingo and we threw water balloons at you? And I'm like, I don't do that anymore. Yeah. I also am very comfortable. Like, I've said I'm getting better too at being like, here's my price point for this particular thing. Yeah. And if you don't meet it, I'm like, here's 4 other comedians that you could
who absolutely do it for a quarter of that.
Who do it for less.
I'm saying no to a lot. Blanket no to kid stuff. Let's cut that.
Yeah, let's clip that. Let's clip that.
Blanket no to the kid stuff. Now we're just asking an exorbitant amount.
Yeah, and
if you want me to do a wedding, through the roof.
Yeah. Because it also is a time thing now. Like now we're turning. Now if you're doing a wedding, you're turning down 2 or 3 other shows.
Right.
So you need to be paid, and it's not going to be fun. Very rarely.
And it's a bad idea for everyone involved.
It's always the couple that's like, and I feel so bad because there's always like the couple's like, we really love stand up, but I'm like, none of your guests.
Great. Let me
do.
get you 2 tickets to a show.
Yeah, exactly. Here's this clip. Watch this.
Imagine
laugh.
all of your friends and family, your loved ones from all over the country
insane.
fly in to see your wedding, and then they go, everyone sit down and shut up and listen to this guy you don't know.
That's what I'm saying.
Talk for an hour about his dating life, by the way.
The only kind of acceptable is like, here's this famous comedian that
Even
everyone
then,
knows.
though.
But it's just so much more insulting to be like, this guy's local? Well,
and the other thing is, I feel like I've always had a decent rate on weddings. Like now I've doubled it probably. But at the time, it's like you're bombing and they're paying you like $2,000.
Yeah,
and then you're like, I feel bad for all of this.
I know. It's just like, and I'm very honest too about that. I'm like, it's gonna be bad usually. I'm like, you should just do a 20-minute set in and out.
Let me make fun of you guys, talk about your family.
I'll charge you half for that. I'll have a good time. You'll have a good time. I'll get to leave or whatever.
Right.
Okay, that's very funny. I mean, and Tyler started cataloging these in these threads that are incredible. They're like historical, accurate like reads of all these situations, and they're very funny. We're very well written. I was gonna say you should make that into like, I don't even know what it would be.
Even in like writing them out, I'm remembering stuff where I'm going like, no way.
That's again going back to the thing. We're too far in many ways. Like we talked about this when we came back from the pandemic. There's just so many insane people in comedy that you get used to them. All these just lunatics that were around all the time. And then post pandemic, I was like, ugh, this person's like this, and I'm like, oh, I didn't even register because I was so around this person for so long that now I'm like, I have to reacclimate to the insanity of comedy, and I'm like, this can't be good.
We're in too deep.
Yeah, we're in too deep. But that's good that you're cataloging these.
Well, and it's like it's been interesting, like trying to remember, like and so many of them are stories like when we talk about them, we're laughing. When you tell them to someone, you're laughing, and I'm like, I'm gonna try and like put them in some form. I'm eventually gonna try and maybe do something else with them. But yeah, that
could be if you did a one-man show. It should just be you acting out all of them and doing like a whole.
I don't think I could get through it.
Okay, that's good. Those are 2 ones I wanted to talk to you about. Then
follow me on Threads.
Follow them on Threads. They're
and
fantastic.
And home.
Best piece of advice you've gotten in comedy?
Man, I didn't take it. I still have not taken it, but it's best advice.
What is it?
From the very, very beginning, when we were doing improv, Jay Succo told us this. One of our first teachers. And mentors. I was just thinking about that. I was writing a thing for Threads, and I was thinking about this today. He said, and I still struggle to do this, but I remember it all the time, is when you're performing comedy, you can't be that tied to how it goes. The best show and the worst show both just have to be another of the million shows you perform in your life. And it's easy to remind yourself that when you've had a bad show and be like, hey, it's okay. Like, this has to be one of, I'm going to but it's tougher when you've had a killer show to just go, it's just one of the million shows I'll do in my life. What the job is performing.
Yeah.
It's not receiving feedback. It's and there is, especially in stand-up, a degree of you want to be doing well for the audience, and you need to get feedback in order to hone and write jokes and do better. But in general, you can't get too high on yourself and you can't get too down on yourself. It's just about keeping at it.
Keeping level, because, if you go the other way and you're like, I'm the best, I'm great, then you're going to just lose. You're having ego.
Well, and it continues to tie your self-worth and your self-esteem to how it goes. Yeah. So if you go, I'm only going to accept the feedback when it's positive, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Then when you don't get the positive feedback, you feel
crumble.
It.
Yeah. That's very true. I mean, early on,
he told us that 8-9 years ago, and I still think about it often, and it still is something I struggle to. I haven't adopted, but I think it is helpful.
That kind of thing of like, and to also like on both ends, if the show is bad, like I've been reminding myself before the show, I'm like, try to have fun, because I feel like we're at the point now too. If I'm watching a show and I'm like, okay, I'm up in 20 minutes, and I'm like, this show is not going to be good. Like, I can just tell, been doing it long enough to know this is bad. It's not recoverable past, like, you're not going to go past here. The show is not going to go past the 6 out of 10.
We're in survival mode.
Yeah, so now I'm like, okay, now I know that. There's like an element of like, all right, I'm just going to try to have fun with this. But the problem is then, lately what I've been doing, I've been like, okay, I'm in a good energy in entering the show, but then I'm just way too honest on stage that I'm just like, y'all shouldn't come either. I don't know why you're here. Like, dude, it's just a full stream of consciousness.
The gig I was talking about this weekend, I did this show in Duluth, like full crowd, no reason it shouldn't be good. dark,
and that's the most
perfect
frustrating.
setup
Yeah,
room,
that's the most frustrating.
and right from the top, they're being weird. I get on stage. I've stepped 1 foot on stage. There's a guy in the very front row looks at me like, ugh. He didn't laugh the entire show. I comment on it a little bit. I go, there's a guy, you guys can't see him. There's a guy right here.
You're just hating.
He wouldn't even look at me.
That's so insulting.
He is literally right here on the rail. He's looking right past me, staring at the wall.
That's so.
I go, the layers of, you bought a ticket.
Yeah.
You left the house.
Yeah,
you and your wife came. You sat, by the way, in the very front row,
paying for
intent
drinks?
on not having a good time.
It's insane.
Like, so many layers
Yeah.
of it where I'm like, are you maybe, and we've talked about this before, like, are you the type of person that just, like, you don't show it on your face, but you're having a good time?
Yeah.
He would smirk every now and then, but you could tell he's trying to keep it down.
That's also weird to me. What is it's a masculine
There's so
thing or
many
something
layers
where
of
you
that
can't laugh?
where I'm like, you're the one who's wrong.
Yeah.
You bought tickets, you came in the store, you sat in the very front row.
But see, here that you're doing all this math while you're doing your set.
But and to your point about just being honest, I'm letting it out.
Yeah,
I'm going,
yeah.
this guy. The thing that I picked up on, and I again, honest, just telling them that is true. That and the crowd was tough. Where I'm going, man, you guys aren't going to think about me at all. I'm going to think about you guys a lot. Because if you're from the audience perspective, you go to a show like that and you go, show's all right. Next day, what did you guys do? I went to a comedy show. 2 weeks from now, what did you guys do? We've been, we're just kind of hanging out.
Yeah.
Nothing eventful. To me, I'm 2 years from now, I'll be going, Duluth 6 p.m. show was tough.
Yeah.
There was a guy in the front row. I
You'll
could tell you, I
forget.
could pick him out of a
Yeah, I was
lineup.
gonna say,
I know
you'll
exactly
never
what his
forget
face
his
looks
face.
like.
I had
His
somebody.
bitch wife, she laughed once,
I had one. This lady was saying he was looking past you, but at least he was facing you.
Yeah.
She was front. Everyone's facing the stage. Turned her chair this way before the show
Facing
started.
sideways or
facing
fully
the wall.
backwards?
So I'm there. She's facing the wall. Is there? She's facing the wall.
And why?
Everyone else facing forward. And I go, I like that. You can watch the show and watch fucking Netflix over there. What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
I was like,
Did she say why?
she goes, oh, I like to, I'll turn this way. I'm like, so now you're just coy the whole fucking show? What is that? What is that? What is this? This was in the Funny Bone in St. Louis.
Funny.
And I was just like, you can, there's not a fixed chair.
Right.
You can turn it. Everyone else has turned their chair. That this club seats the chairs this way. But it was just like, I'm like, I like your side profile. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't tell if you're laughing because you're
Yeah.
facing the other way. I
Yeah.
was fully lashing out the whole
Yeah.
time. But also, didn't move 45 minutes, didn't change position. But that's another thing is like there's like that 10 Principles of Comedy by Bill Hicks. Remember, have you seen that? Like it's a one cheater.
Yes, I do remember this.
And one of them was like, it was something about the act is something you fall back on when everything else isn't working.
Yeah.
And that is kind of profound in the sense of like, you are a performer. You're just there to kind of entertain. And however you do that.
Sure.
Is that riffing? Is that doing whatever? Is that, and then if that is all not working, then you're like, okay, here's my jokes.
Yeah.
But then I feel like I do understand that, but I'm like, then what the fuck are we writing jokes? Like
Yeah.
what are we doing? What's the? Because I feel you're better at this than me. You're like
Writing jokes, yeah.
you are better about being like, I'm gonna do these 10 jokes, and
Sure.
not like, and then I might break, but you're like, I'm still gonna get through what I
Yeah,
want to
I
get through.
tend to like, and I've talked to the people ask like, oh, do you like riff a lot? Do you do crowd work? I'm like, to me, when I think I'm at my best or the best show, 75-25. 75%
Yeah, I
prepared because these people paid, they came, they deserve a show. I want you to know that I worked on this.
Yes.
That you're not coming and paying to, watch me fuck around. But once I've earned your trust, I feel like I can play around a little bit. And you need some of that where it's like, if it was all 100% prepared, it's like a robot could have done that.
Then you're like, we could watch this at
some
home.
of the riffing you want to be like, he's in the room with us. He knows what's going on. There's some back and forth. It's a little, I think you need both things. But I do think it's important to, and it's interesting that like now having a prepared act is like a novelty.
Yeah.
You
Oh yeah.
know?
They're like, oh, he's got jokes.
Wow,
and I'm like,
yeah,
we're comedians.
Yes. Dude, so many people, when people hear you do stand up, they go, oh, what's your style like? And I always say, I'm just telling jokes. And they'll go, inevitably, they go, isn't everybody doing that? I go, you would be shocked. You would be shocked how few people
Name a few.
are telling jokes.
I'll tell you they're not.
You'd be shocked how few people are telling jokes.
Yeah, it's wild that people are like, man, that shit didn't go well. I'm like, you didn't tell. How many times have we been in the back of a room and I'm like,
Yes.
30 seconds, no joke. Not a single joke.
And the joke.
If you are an unknown comedian and you do not get a laugh within the first 15 to 30 seconds, you should end your life. I don't know what you're doing. That is so so
How about
crucial.
within the first 10 minutes? What are you talking about?
It's crazy that people are just like, man, I don't
And
know
then
what
they
happened.
come back the next night, and guess what? They do it again.
again.
They do it again.